You've seen the look, right? If you've spent any time on Instagram or Pinterest, you know exactly what I'm talking about. These high-end wooden toys, the neutral-toned playrooms, everything is just so perfectly curated. That's the Montessori aesthetic. But what if I told you that this whole modern minimalist vibe is really just the tip of the iceberg? That it's the surface of a philosophy that's over 100 years old and wasn't born in some fancy design studio, but in the slums of Rome. Yeah. Today, we're going to dig way past the beige and find out what Montessori really is. So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at that Instagram aesthetic versus its wild origins. Then, we'll dive into the core idea, which is all about following the child. After that, we'll unpack the method itself, how the materials actually do the teaching. We'll even tackle that big myth. Is it total chaos or is there order? And finally, we'll check out the incredible legacy. You know, the people who came out of this system. All right, let's jump right in with part one. We're talking about the aesthetic versus the origin, that whole Instagram vibe, and then the completely unexpected reality of where this whole thing actually started.
Okay, so you know the look. I mean, we all do. These gorgeous, high-end wooden toys. They feel so important. And yeah, they usually come with a pretty hefty price tag. But man, do they look good on a shelf?
And where do you see these toys? Always in these perfectly calm, neutral-toned playrooms. It's like a sea of beige, you know? All clean lines and minimalist perfection. It's an entire aesthetic. Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting. That whole Instagram vibe feels so expensive, so curated, so now. But the reality? It couldn't be more different. The Montessori method was actually developed way back in 1907, and get this, it was created by Dr. Maria Montessori, who was Italy's very first female physician, by the way, and it was for some of the absolute poorest children in the slums of Rome. This whole thing was designed to be revolutionary, not just decorative. And that revolutionary spirit, well, that takes us right to the core of the whole philosophy. It's all about this massive shift in focus. We're moving away from the act of teaching and putting all the attention on the natural process of learning. I love this comparison because it just nails this central idea. In a traditional classroom, right, the teacher is kind of the sage on the stage. They're up at the front, they have all the knowledge, and they give it to you. But in a Montessori room, the teacher becomes the guide on the side. They're an observer, a facilitator. Their job is to help a child follow their own natural curiosity. See, the whole idea is that kids are born wanting to learn. You don't have to force them. You just have to create the right environment for it to happen. So what does that environment look like? Well, it's built on these three main pillars. First up is the prepared environment. This just means everything is child-sized and easy for them to get to, no asking for help to reach something. The second pillar is multi-age grouping. This is so cool. You have older kids and younger kids in the same room, and the older ones naturally start teaching the younger ones. And third, and this is a big one, they call it the work, not play. Why? Because for a little kid, figuring out how to pour water from a pitcher without spilling a drop, well, that's a serious, purposeful job. It's their work. Okay, but how does all this learning actually happen without a teacher standing at the front of a room? Well, that brings us to the method itself and what a lot of people call the secret sauce. It's all about how the materials themselves are designed to be the teacher. So what is the secret sauce? I mean, really, it all starts with a simple observation. Have you ever noticed that none of the classic Montessori materials have like flashing lights or batteries? They're usually just simple wood or metal. And there's a super clever reason for that. It all comes down to this brilliant concept called control of error. It's a fancy term, but the idea is simple. The materials are designed to be self-correcting. So picture a wooden block with different sized holes and a set of cylinders to fit in them. If a kid tries to put a big cylinder in a small hole, well, it just won't fit. The material itself tells them they made a mistake. They don't need a grown-up to come over and say, nope, that's wrong. They can see it, feel it, and fix it all on their own. Think about what that does for a kid's brain. It builds this incredible internal confidence and resilience. You're teaching them from day one that making a mistake isn't some big shameful failure. It's just information. Mistakes aren't failures. They're just data points. And that mindset, wow, that is an absolutely crucial skill to have for your entire life. All right, let's tackle the biggest myth out there, the real elephant in the room. Because when people hear child-led learning, they immediately picture, total chaos. Kids running wild, screaming, drawing on the walls. Is it just a total free-for-all? So yeah, the myth is the scene of just unstructured chaos. But the reality, it's kind of the complete opposite. It's something they call the normalized classroom. And if you ever walk into a well-run Montessori room, the first thing you'll notice is how quiet it is. It's almost eerie. But it's not because kids are being told to shut up. It's because they are so deeply focused on something they've chosen, something that interests them, that they're in that state of flow. And that's the key right there. It's not do whatever you want. The real mantra is freedom within limits. So sure, a child has the freedom to choose any work they want, but there are limits. They can only choose from the materials on the shelves. They can only use material after they've been shown how to use it properly. And this one's a biggie. They have to put it back exactly where they found it so the next person can use it. It's freedom, yeah, but it's also about responsibility and respect for everyone else in the room. So all of this sounds great, right? But it brings us to the bottom line, our last section, the legacy. Does this whole approach, this focus on independence, self-correction, and deep focus, does it actually work? I mean, out in the real world? Well, let's just say the results might surprise you. In fact, there's this term that gets thrown around for its most successful graduates. Maybe you've heard of it. They call them the Montessori Mafia. And the list of members? It's pretty wild. We're talking about the guys who founded Google, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, the founder of Amazon, Jeff Bezos, even the incredible chef Julia Child. And what's crazy is that they all point back to their Montessori education as the thing that taught them how to think for themselves, how to solve problems creatively.
So what's going on here? Well, the why seems to be the method's intense focus on what scientists call executive function. This is basically your brain's CEO. It's the ability to plan, to focus, to remember what you're doing, and to juggle multiple tasks. And here's the kicker. Study after study shows that having strong executive function is a way better predictor of success in life than just having a high IQ. So in the end, if you strip away all the expensive wooden toys and that perfect beige aesthetic, what are you left with? It's really just one simple but incredibly profound idea at the very heart of it all: respect the learner. And it doesn't matter if that learner is 3 years old or 93 years old. Giving someone the space, the right tools, and maybe most importantly, the trust to figure things out for themselves, well, that might just be the most powerful way to learn anything, ever.